ate. Ah,
Was busy yesterday, huh?
always,
Were
always.
you guys short or just busy?
Short, yeah. Hopefully, they're gonna give us one more person in replacement of Rose.
Of who?
Rose, the other one?
The left?
Yeah, she left. By, I think, on the 30th. Legally, she's out.
Oh. But yesterday someone called out or you guys just don't have staff?
We're short. Yeah,
That's not.
yeah. And patient is,
Mm.
so that's good for us, though. So, but
I
I did my
People that
last patient, probably 5:20.
Wow.
Let me call somebody.
I have a few people that left. They're like, what's going on? I go, a lot of people. I go, where do you usually go? Not here, right?
I know.
Ireland last month. Israel summons the Armenian ambassador to register a protest. Now 145 countries recognize a Palestinian state. Iran has summoned the Italian ambassador who represents Canadian interests in Tehran. Iran has said that Canada has listed the Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist entity. Tensions have been high between the two countries, which broke off diplomatic ties in 2012. Since then, Ottawa's interests in Tehran have been represented by Italy. The new leader of Solomon Islands to visit Australia this weekend. It will be his first visit there as Prime Minister after he replaced pro-China leader Manasseh Sogavare in May. Security issues will be on top of the agenda. In 2022, the Pacific nation signed a secretive pact with China and set alarm bells ringing in the West. A big win for the LGBTQ community in Namibia. A top court strikes down colonial-era laws criminalizing same-sex relationships. Namibia gained independence from South Africa in 1990, but has still retained most of its laws dating back to 1927. And youth activists win a landmark climate settlement in Hawaii. The youth state will now be forced to move towards a zero-emission transportation system. Officials in Hawaii will also have to release a roadmap on how to achieve this goal by 2045. And this is what he said.
Wenn es den internationalen Finanzjugendclub gibt und außerhalb Europas gelingen sollte, die Folge noch einmal in den Weltkrieg zu stürzen, dann wird das Ergebnis nicht die Bolschewisierung der Erde und damit das nächste Judentum sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
Hitler warned of annihilating European Jews, and he very nearly did that. The Nazis killed 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Yet, Hitler did not start this hatred. Hatred for Jews is often called the most ancient hatred, the oldest form of discrimination. Today we call it, in each period of history, it took different forms. Hitler being the most hateful one. He converted anti-Semitism into genocide. Which makes you wonder, how did it all begin? Why have Jews been historically targeted? And why does it prevail today? Time for a flashback. Let's start with the early Roman Empire. And this was before Christianity. So the Roman subjects were pagans. They believed in a number of gods and forces. But Jews did not. Like today, they were monotheistic. They believed in just one god. So the Romans were suspicious. Everything about the Jews seemed like a red flag to them. They wouldn't intermarry, they observed Sabbath, and they circumcised their young. Today, if you don't understand something, you learn about it. But this was the 1st century BC. If you did not understand something, you villainized it. And that's what happened to the Jews. You can find examples in many Roman writings. The poet Juvenal said Jews are drunken and rowdy. The lawyer Cicero talked about how Jews always stick together, how they had power in assemblies, all classic anti-Semitic tropes. Things became worse after the death of Jesus Christ. Now we know who crucified Jesus. It was the Romans. But Christian propaganda hid that for a long, long time. Now I'm throwing some dates at you, so listen closely. Jesus was crucified in the year 33 AD. Like I said, the Romans did it. Years later, in 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the Temple of Jerusalem. It was like a watershed moment. Christians and Jews saw it as divine punishment. The New Testament reflected that. Instead of the Romans, it now blamed the Jews. Jews were depicted as killers of Jesus. It's a myth, an absolute falsehood. But back then, people believed it. In fact, why back then? Even today, many people believe it. Such sentiments led to a religious rivalry. Christians versus Jews. And the church played a key role in this. They taught all kinds of anti-Semitic things, like Jews had no reason to exist anymore. Their whole job was to prepare for Jesus Christ's arrival. And since that was done, Jews had nothing more to do. Their existence was seen as an anomaly. Many of them were forced to flee. We covered the Jewish dispersion in our last episode, you can watch it here. But fleeing did not mean a life of freedom. Anti-Semitism followed them. In 312 AD, Rome moved closer to Christianity. Their emperor, Constantine, converted. And pretty soon the Roman Empire became Christian. So the church now had more powers. It could influence the emperor. As a result, new laws were created. Jews were shunned to the margins of society. They were also denied basic rights and freedoms. In some places, Jews had to wear markers, like a yellow badge or a hat called Hudenhut. The idea was to identify and stay away from them. Remember, all this was over religion because the Jews refused to accept Christianity. And propaganda played an important role in this hatred. I'll give you some examples. In 1144, a 12-year-old boy was found murdered in Norwich. His name was William. There was no evidence of who killed him, no leads, so the case was a dead end. But 4 years later, a monk turned up in Norwich and he said the Jews had killed William. And that allegation was like a spark. Pretty soon, everyone pointed fingers at Jews. They were accused of blood libel, of killing Christian boys and using their blood for rituals. Today we call all of this fake news. Another example is from the Black Death, the plague in the 14th century. Christians said it was the work of the devil. What's more, the devil had a partner. No prizes for guessing. The Jews. They were accused of poisoning the wells in Europe. And none of this is backed by proof. But enough people said it, so it became a fact, much like propaganda today. In most of these cases, there was a logical explanation. The whole thing about Jewish money lenders. They were shown as evil and cunning, as hoarding more and more wealth. Even writers of this time fell for this trick, like William Shakespeare. You may have heard of his play, The Merchant of Venice. It has a Jewish lender. His name is Shylock. Shylock lends money to the Christian protagonist. He gives it on one condition. If the money is not repaid, Shylock will take a pound of his flesh. And guess how the play ends? In Shylock's defeat, he ends up converting to Christianity. But have you wondered why Jews ended up as money lenders in the first place? Because Christians refused to do it. In early Christianity, lending for interest was forbidden, but someone had to do it, and that someone was the Jews. It wasn't some devious plan to conquer the world, it was just economics. But European leaders never understood that. They feared and persecuted the Jews. They were banished from European kingdoms. In the year 1290, Jews were expelled from Britain. In 1306, from France. In 1348, from Switzerland. And in 1394, from Germany. We're talking about an entire religious group expelled. In many ways, anti-Semitism was a convenient tool. You could use it anywhere. Children going missing, blame the Jews. Christians not getting rich, blame the Jews. A deadly plague wiping out your population, again blame the Jews. So anti-Semitism became the answer to Europe's problems. An easy and hateful answer. Things improved slightly in the 1700s. This was the age of enlightenment, also the time of the French Revolution. So freedom and science were the catchphrases. Thus Jews were emancipated. They became citizens for the first time. Yet anti-Semitism persisted. Citizenship did not guarantee equal rights for Jews. In many places, they were second-class citizens. And until now, anti-Semitism was based on religion. It was Christianity versus Judaism. But in 1859, that changed. Charles Darwin published his book on evolution. It talked about survival of the fittest. Now, Darwin's theory was about organisms. Some beat their surroundings to reproduce. Others perished. That's what he said. But some thinkers applied Darwin's theory to race. They said some races are superior. Others, like the Jews, are not. They were not fit to survive. It was around this time that the word anti-Semitism emerged. Until then, Jewish hatred had no single term. It was first used by a German journalist, Wilhelm Marx. He represented a new sort of Jewish hatred. It wasn't just about killing Christ or killing